Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Welcome back to Listen Up, and the Huskies win another game, this time 88-62 over the Butler Bulldogs. Phil, I'll let you go. I just got home 10 minutes ago, so unfortunately I was unable to watch the game. But Ashlynn Shade, career night, 22 points, and seems like the Huskies really didn't do much wrong again in this game.
Well, Ryan, I kind of feel bad because a couple episodes ago we titled a video and we had Austin title it, right? We had it started off as shady out here. So Ryan, I'm like, man, do we have to use the same title two or three episodes in a row? Let me tell you, man, this was a performance, especially in the second half. Although hats off to this group, the Butler Bulldogs, Ryan, they did an incredible job to open the game up. But again, it was the wear and tear of what UConn does to their opponents, what we're starting to see as the season gets later and later on. You're going to like this. Let's get started. Today, we started the day off learning UConn is stuck like glue on that 17 spot in the AP poll. Don't get me started on that, Ryan. But UConn, we knew in this game coming in, the keys to success was UConn needed to get into the passing lanes and interrupt the setup screens that Butler had been doing so well all season. Like you said on the last check-in, Butler was a much improved team tonight to what we have seen in recent years. Credit, Ryan, to you saying that as well. It was another great crowd tonight showing up for the Lady Huskies at the XL Center in Hartford. Their fourth straight game with the same starting lineup for UConn. It was Arnold, Mule, Shade rounding out the backcourt. Edwards and, listen to this, Ryan, Paige Beckers playing the forward position. Supposedly she requested that on Saturday. So I had opened my ears up. I was like, oh my goodness, let me tell Ryan that. So let's get started in the first quarter. The game, this was game 11 for both of these teams. The first quarter, Mule was shooting 42% from three coming in, and she started off the scoring, Ryan, for UConn, 3-0. Butler's Rachel Kent responded with her own three. Arnold hit a three, 6-3, UConn. Both teams, if you can't already tell, Ryan, they came out firing. They were hot on all cylinders, shooting threes from way downtown. It was a three-point show early. UConn got the first defensive stop of the game, then scored on a nice layup. It was Kent with back-to-back threes, and that tied the game at 8, Ryan. Later on, Wiggins had for Butler, had her fourth three of the season. That made it 16-11, and then you get down to the end of the first quarter, 21-20. Ryan, it was actually Butler leading by a point at the end of one. Second quarter, Shade had a nice steal to start the quarter, and her career night. Griffin scored the end one. The Huskies did a nice job, Ryan, creating Butler turnovers into points tonight. And that's what I want to get into later on with you. Norman hit another three. UConn went under the screen instead of over the top, specifically on this play to start the second quarter. And that's what forced Gino to call a timeout. It was 27-23 Butler and the third UConn turnover out of the timeout when Gino called that. Another three made. It was at one point, Ryan, 30-23 Butler Bulldogs. Okay, so I was starting to be like, man, are we coming on and talking to Ryan about a struggle in the Big East Conference all of a sudden? So UConn responded with a three to end the 8-0 Butler run in the second quarter, Ryan. Austin Parkinson, head coach for Butler, he had to call a timeout as UConn scored 7 straight by Page and Shade, and that put UConn back up 30-29. It was 11-0 run for the UConn Huskies after their free throws made. UConn started to wake up with about 3 minutes to go in the first half. I actually heard KK Arnold a lot communicating with her team while she was on the floor, being very vocal. And I knew that's something that Ryan would like as well as everybody else. We talk about their actual performance, but how about actually getting more involved vocally? You know what I mean? Especially when you're home and the crowd is on your side. Samuels, she came off the bench, Ryan, with a big three. They're starting on the radio now. They're starting to call that the Q bomb. So I think that's what you and I are going to refer that to from now on when she hits the threes. Q bombs from Caden Samuels. At halftime, Ryan, 45-34, UConn Third quarter opened up the Huskies. It was a lot too much passing. They had to shoot the ball. They were getting good looks, but starting to pass the ball too much. But they had a couple more turnovers there, or at least one more turnover there. Good ball movement again from UConn, but the ball was not falling at the start, like the start of the game. So it was a pretty slow third quarter, especially for Butler. Thank goodness, Ryan, for the rebounding by Edwards and company. Eventually, Butler would find themselves in foul trouble, and that's what happened. Very slow start for the Bulldogs, and that's what you see. This is what leads up to the final blowout score. It was 51-34 midway through, Ryan, third quarter. Strandy finally scoring for Butler in the third with about 5 minutes remaining, and then you go down to the fourth. End of the third quarter, 64-44 UConn. Fourth quarter, UConn took care of the ball tonight, really limited the turnovers. At one point in the fourth, you had Ashlynn Shade go off, and then Griffin. Griffin was 5 for 6 with 4 steals to follow up that great performance that we saw, Ryan. Final score, UConn 88-62. UConn Huskies. Assistant coach, I heard from 2 different interviews after the game. Assistant coach Daly said Shade is probably developing her 3-point shot a lot faster than what her reputation looked like coming into college. Ash has that nice mid-range shot paired with arguably the most consistent 3-point shooter so far on this team, right, this season. So, Ryan, not that anybody else hasn't stepped up. It's a whole team effort. And I like how UConn is finishing strong in a lot of these games. Just think if we're talking about the flip side, about UConn starting off strong, Ryan, but then teams are coming back and winning the ball games against them. That obviously that would be no good, right? So starting to like to see what I'm liking what is unfolding before our eyes. But I went back very quickly and I looked at I had some extra time. I looked at this was posted 2 years, 3 months ago, according to Prospect Nation. Ashlynn Shade, a couple takes on here. It says she's become a credible threat from the 3-point arc right now. And then it goes up to say Shade has an explosiveness and speed in the backcourt reminiscent of Shenedy Carter in her prep days, with a work ethic that resembles former Miss Indiana basketball Jackie Young. So, Ryan, again, not taking anything away from anybody else on this roster, including my favorite, Paige Beckers, you might be seeing something unfolding before your eyes in Shady out here, right? Quicker than you might have thought.
Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable because who would have thought we would have been talking about Ashlynn Shade like this? Even when all the freshmen came to the campus. So it is pretty incredible how quickly all the freshmen have really developed. But for Ashlynn Shade to really go on this run has been really special to watch, and it's really fun to watch her having so much fun out there. Continue to put out these great performances for us to watch. But career high 22 points, also career high 4 assists for her. Aaliyah with another double-double tonight. Like you said, her rebounds definitely really important. UConn again out rebounding their opponents, so that's always important for them to get the win. Page 16.7 assists. Looks like Aubrey had another pretty good consistent performance off the bench again from her. So, and I also saw, I believe Nika checked out of the game and headed to the locker room with 3 minutes remaining. I think I saw Gino said she's been dealing with a stomach bug ever since the Louisville game. So seems like she didn't have a bad performance tonight, but I guess that is something to monitor, especially for the game in 2 days, whether she's able to play or not. But it's just great to see UConn get another team win, shoot consistently again from the field. It really seems like the offense is picking up, even though tonight seems like they struggled just a little bit to get going. But like you said, I'd rather them start a little slow than end slow and blow these big leads that they build up. So great to see UConn, get the win over Butler, even though they did start slow. And like I said, I always love when UConn is able to win as a team and everybody continue to put out these consistent performances that we know they can continue to do for the rest of the season.
All right. A couple people, Ryan, over to comments. They go, thanks, guys. Daryl Anderson. No, thank you from Ryan and I. Another person, you guys are beyond awesome. So we want to remind you all to please like the video. It goes a lot longer ways than what you all think it does. So please like the videos. And again, we appreciate all of our subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, then subscribe. And if not, that's okay too. Ryan, Bond Riley goes, you guys need to do better with your homework. The Toronto game has been on the schedule since it was first out back in October. Well, I know some things are a mystery. You know, nobody's perfect, Ryan. I went ahead and told you no, just so everybody hears this now, no last check-in like our usual routine for the next game. I heard that this game is over. Associate coach Chris Daly said it's basically to get Aaliyah Edwards back home to her hometown. So I don't she said it's basically like an exhibition game. I don't know. You and I will have to eventually look. I don't even know if it's going to count toward the record. I don't know if that's something that you can tell me or not.
Well, I mean, it would make sense if it didn't count towards the record, which would kind of make sense why ESPN didn't have it posted on their website. But I definitely remember hearing about the game, but obviously didn't know the date because it wasn't on the app. But I did look at the UConn Huskies website, and they do have it on there. So, but yeah, it might not count towards the record.
Jason D'Amico, Rye, maybe, quote, maybe we will let Jason do the game recap since I won't be around, end quote. Jason says, gulp, scared. I agree with Rye. The 3 ball will be a huge factor against Butler. Nothing more deflating than getting snipped from behind the arc. Paige said it best that teams want to play against UConn as if it's their championship, and they want to be at their best. If you look at the 3 losses this year, it was mainly because those teams were lights out from beyond the arc. If Butler has the same luck, this will be a much closer game than we think. Peace. 2 things very quickly, Ryan. Yeah, I'm not, just because of the career night for Ashlynn Shade, 22 points, 4 assists, as she leads the way for the Huskies in this win tonight. I'm not, hyping her up just because, yeah, she led in points. She was giving what the defense gave her. She was taking what the defense gave her, rather. So, again, I mean, if she can't get the mid-range shot, she was going outside the 3-point line, Ryan. So, and then not only that, when he talks about the Butler Bulldogs with the second part of his comment, go ahead and then I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely right about Butler heating up from 3, and I said that during the last check-in. If Butler does start to come out and drain a lot of 3-pointers, they would make it close, and they definitely did for the first half, and kind of slowed down, like we've been seeing from a lot of opponents that UConn plays, kind of just outpace them and bring more energy into the second half, and they can easily pull away from their opponents. But we also have to still remember all of UConn's 3 losses, even though they didn't play these opponents when they were in the top 5. All 3 losses are now to teams that are in the top 5, UCLA at 2, NC State 3, and Texas at 5. So UConn has definitely lost to 3 of the top 3 of the top 3 best teams in the country. So definitely not, terrible losses for UConn, but definitely not an easy Big East schedule coming up.
All right. Thanks to Jeanette Adams. She says, nice breakdown, guys. One thing, not to be negative here at all. We had that discussion earlier in the week, Ryan. I'm going to tell you now, I don't necessarily think that we're, and again, I like what I'm seeing from this team overall, right? The team, and a big reason for that is as far as the freshmen coming in, the freshman class, and how many points are getting off the bench. Not only going along with Jason's comment about, yeah, they're going to play UConn, all these teams like it's, the Final Four game, or, they're going to give UConn their best shot. We get it. They're actually, to be honest with you, Ryan, I don't know if you agree on this or not, they're actually going to get Paige Beckers is going to get the best shot from every team in the nation. I believe that from here on out. Meaning, hopefully I'm wrong, meaning, yeah, you're still going to see her flash and shine. It's Paige Beckers, but To see her every night, 30 plus. I don't I again I don't know if we're going to see it.
Well, I think we saw that a little bit during her sophomore campaign, obviously before she got injured that year. A lot of teams started double teaming her, obviously, because
Right,
she
right.
had
Yeah.
a career freshman year that nobody's ever seen before. So a lot of teams are going to adjust, and that's just part of the game. So,
Mhm.
but I think she's been doing a pretty good job this season,
Yeah.
especially like we keep on saying, missing all those games and all that stuff. But I
Yeah.
think it's interesting because I was just thinking the same thing's probably going to happen to Ashlynn Shade. If she keeps on doing this, a lot of teams, especially next year, are going to look at all these freshmen for UConn who are going to continue to play a big role for this team. A lot of teams are probably going to adjust to Ashlynn, KK, Caden Samuels, Ice Brady. So, it's just part of the game that a lot of these girls have to kind of adjust their games a little bit to stay on top of the opponent.
And actually, Ice Brady, there was one point the radio announcers were saying Ice Brady. She came off of the bench, Ryan, and she had a couple good shots tonight. So, and that goes along with actually, yeah, it's Michael Lawson, our last comment for the night, Ryan. Careful, trap game. If they get hot, it could be close. Page 29.7 rebounds, 3 steals. Edwards double double. This could be Samuel's big night. Butler will probably key on Aubrey to leave shooters open. UConn 78, Butler 69. Ice must shoot the ball from the heel to get going.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ice really hasn't had a bad start to the year, but she hasn't had a great start either. But I think it's kind of difficult for her because I think she's still trying to find her role as she comes off the bench and how many minutes is she gonna get. Obviously, Aaliyah is gonna get the bulk of the post minutes for the forward center position, the 5 spot for UConn. But it's definitely interesting that Paige is starting to play the 4 position, like I said in one of the last check-ins, because UConn has lost so many forwards for the season that Paige basically is the 4 when she's on the floor. So it's interesting for Ice, but as long as she comes off the bench, keeps getting consistent minutes and getting rebounds, hustling, making shots, she should continue to do pretty good throughout the season.
Okay, and not only me, I'm asking everyone. How about everyone join me in telling Ryan this? Because since Ryan was not able to hear or see the game tonight, Ryan, to leave it off on a high note for you to go to bed. This is 8 straight quarters of big time basketball from UConn, right, Ryan? Listen to this. One of their last 29 games. This was one of their last 29 games. They only had one in their last 29 games with at least 10 threes. Tonight, UConn had 12 3-pointers. And Griffin in the post game interview, Ryan, I liked, they asked her a couple questions, but the one thing that stood out to me was don't think, she said, don't think, just do it. Ryan, 12 3-pointers on the night.
Yeah, and Gino kept saying that as well, that he wanted UConn to continue to shoot more threes. So it's definitely good to see UConn continue to knock down threes, and it's definitely become a big part of why they're on this winning streak right now.
Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throws, Ryan. It's all going up. I'm ready for some nice hot eggs, and it's not even bedtime yet, right? But I'm ready for a nice hot breakfast tomorrow to celebrate this win over Butler. It's Phil and Ryan. Nice way, Ryan, to cap off the first game of the Big East conference play. Phil and Rye on Listen Up.